Hello everyone. So in today's tutorial we are going to deep dive into the world of Cisco routers, where we are going to walk through the process of configuring the IP address on a router interface. So before we start, make sure you hit the subscribe button and give a thumbs up and ring the notification bell to stay updated on the all networking tutorials. So now let's jump into the interface IP configurations on Cisco routers. So let's say we have a real world application, a Cisco engineer who required to configure an IP address on the different type of interfaces. So assignment of an IP address to an interface is the basic thing which we are going to do in the networking devices. So a single interface can have a multiple IP addresses also, a primary IP address and a secondary IP address. So when we are going to configure the IP address, we can configure primary IP address on the interface. Secondary IP interfaces we are commonly configured whenever we are trying to change the IP address or we are changing the subnet mask in the real environment. So on that time we require a secondary address to be configured on the same interface, so that the downtime will be minimized during the migration of the IP address. So to perform this lab, there is some prerequisite. So you have a Cisco packet tracer or install the GNS3 where we can create a topology with a single router. Right now we are only taking a single router where we are going to configure the IP address on the interfaces available on the device. So let's quickly move into the objective of this lab. So we are going to configure the IP address of 10.234.51.254/24 on interface fast Ethernet 0x0, and we are going to configure the secondary IP address on the same interface. Now after that we are going to activate the interface, and then we are going to verify the configuration that the primary and secondary IP which we are going to configure on the interface is reflecting or not. So we are going to check the running configuration as well as we are going to check the interface configuration, which IP address will be reflecting on the IP interface. So let's move into the GNS3 or packet tracer, whichever application you have installed on your device. So we are going to create a blank project. We will name as IP address configuration. Now we are going to take a single router. So you can say we have taken a single C7200 series router of Cisco. So now we are going to start this router. Once it got started, we will click on the console. So it will bring us the console interface of this particular application. So now you can able to see we start getting the Cisco interface, where we can able to see that the device is getting boot up. Now you can able to see that entire device got boot up. Here you can able to see all the interfaces are administratively down right now, and we are into the router right now. So if we check the configuration or if we check the current status of the router, so we will run simple show running configuration, and you can able to see this is the running interface configuration, where all the interfaces are shut down right now with the having a different duplex settings and different IP address. So if you see, there is no IP address on any of the interfaces. Now we are going to configure IP address on this particular interface. So to do that, we have to first go into the configuration mode. So without going into the configuration mode, we are not able to configure the IP address, or we are not able to make any kind of changes on the device. So to get into the configuration mode, first you have to type configure terminal. Now if you can see, we are into the config mode, so it will look like R1 / in the bracket it will written as config, and it will close with hash. So now we are going to configure the IP address on that particular interface. So for that we have to first go to the interface on which we want to configure the IP address. So first we will have a look into the interfaces which is reflecting here. So you can run a command do show IP interface brief. So this will show you the entire interfaces which are available on your router and what is the current status. So if you see IP address is unassigned and status is admin down, and protocol will always be down if the interface is admin down or the interface is not connected. It will always show the protocol as a down. So now we have to go into the interface fast Ethernet 0x0. So we will type a command interface fast Ethernet 0/0. So now we are into the interface. So it will replicate like config-if. So if means interface. So now we are going to configure the IP address. So our task is we have to configure the primary IP address as 10.234.51.254/24. So now we will configure. So to do that, we will type IP address. So once we type a command IP address and then put a question mark, there are three ways we can configure it. We can create an DSCP pool, we can create a separate pool which is a local DSCP pool, and we can configure the IP address manually. So we are going to configure it manually. Like we have to configure IP to 10.234.51.254. And if we put the question mark, now it will ask for the subnet mask. So first we have configured the IP address, now it will ask for the subnet mask. So subnet mask will be 255.255.255.0, because we are taking it as a /24, so it will be 0, and we will press enter. So this particular IP address will be configured on the interface. Now our second task is we have to configure a secondary IP address on the same interface. So to do that, we will type IP address, and the IP will be 172.27.48.254, and then again you have to put subnet mask, and you have to type a keyword. So if you put a question mark, it will give you a keyword secondary. So this will make this IP address as a secondary IP address. So this will whenever you want to configure a secondary IP address, you have to type a keyword secondary after the IP address configuration. So you will type secondary. Now this particular interface having the two IP address configured, we will validate after activating this interface. So our third task is to activate the fast Ethernet interface. So to activate the interface, we have to type no shut. So by default, if we have a status that it is admin down, to enable that particular interface, we have to type no shutdown. So once we put no shutdown, it will show the interface status change to down. So it will change to down from admin down, because right now there is no cable connected, no physical connectivity. We only have a single router in our network, so there is no physical connectivity. That's why it is status will be down. But earlier it was admin down. So if we exit from here, now we are going to validate the configuration. So we will first check show IP interface brief. So once we type this command, we can able to see it will show the IP address 10.234.51.254, and the status is down. So this will always replicate, or always show you the primary IP address which is configured on the interface. It will never show secondary IP address in IP interface brief. To verify or to check that, you have to always run show running configuration. We can check for the particular interface. So interface fast Ethernet 0/0. So now it will show you two IP addresses on the running configuration. One is 172 IP address, which is the secondary IP address, and one is the primary IP address, which is our 10.254 IP, which is always be replicating or reflecting in IP interface brief. So I hope you find this tutorial helpful. So that's all for the today's lab. So if you have any doubt or any query, you can comment. So stay tuned for the more networking tutorial.